Hey everybody, welcome to another hair-raising, fun-filled episode of Radiorama, where, as the name implies, I show you how to work on radios and stuff like that. But today, we're not working on a radio, we're working on a record player, and this is a Decca The Perry Hi-Fi. I'm not good at Roman numbers. What is that? What is a V? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if it works or not. This belonged to my friend Kyle, who moved cross country and couldn't take everything with him. So we're going to restore it. I'm going to restore it rather. And it seems like record players are pretty popular with the kids these days. And it's making noise, but it's got some bad filter caps. You can hear that humming noise, so that means it needs to be replaced. First things first, we'll need to get the amplifier out of here, and that probably means removing this panel and lifting out the record player. There's probably going to be some rinky-dinky little two-tube wonder. It doesn't need to be anything serious, and I'm wondering how big of a speaker does this thing have in it. Seems like the whole front end's a speaker, and it says high fidelity, so it's probably not one of those crappy sock hop record players that has the little 4.5-inch pie pan speaker. So let's get it apart and see what's inside. Let's reveal its electronic secrets. Well, a little disappointed. That's not much of a speaker. that's probably a 5-inch speaker. So the word high fidelity or hi-fi is, in my opinion, misleading. Now, it looks like Kyle maybe had started working on it, but he took this cover off, so that's all exposed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the record player out so we can get at it easier. And plus, I'll need to clean and lubricate the mechanism anyway, so it needs to come out. Wow, this is a one-tube wonder. What I mean by that is the only thing producing sound in this is a 50C5. The other tube is a rectifier. So I don't know what a 50C5 is good for, maybe like 2 watts or something like that. So certainly not a banging set for sure. Here is all the electrolytics in this big can that we need to replace. 40, 30, and 20 microfarads, all at 150 volts. I don't have any 20 microfarads that are that small. I'm going to put some 47 microfarads for all three because it's not going to hurt anything. And then we got these 2 gooey things. Those are generically called paper caps, and they need to be replaced because they're leaky. In fact, you can see one is ruptured. Its end here, probably from the heat from the tubes. Not much going on here. It's going to be real tight getting shit in there. It looks like that the chassis, I don't know if the chassis is grounded or not. This cap has wires coming out of the bottom of it, and it says there's a common negative black wire, and it's very difficult to film this. I see it, but I don't know where it goes. I guess I'll find out in good time. This is a very crammed chassis. I had to dig that other capacitor out of there. I've got both the paper caps replaced, and so now it's on to replacing the capacitors. I did find that the common negative for the electrolytics is right here, because when I pulled this capacitor out, well, what was here, I was able to dig around and find where the black lead came off of this cap, and so they all need to tie in there. This is going to be interesting. It's very tight. Okay, so I was able to yank all the wires out of the bottom of that can so I could see where they go. They go every which way. The least fun is going to be with this one. It's buried in there. The other 2 are not so bad. 2 of them go to the output tube, which makes sense. And again, this is our common ground right there, so I have to cram this stuff in there. Well, managed to squeeze them all in there. There's one here, one here and one there. So that wasn't too bad. What I'm going to do before I button it up is clean the volume control and tone pots so they won't be scratchy. So we'll squirt some stuff in there and then work it in. I will say this used so few parts, it's probably got an investment of about $2 in this thing. Okay, so I put the amp back in there, which was, by the way, not easy, because first you have to bolt it to this piece of wood and then get this cover back on, and getting in here and putting that screw back in there was really hard, but whatever, wah. So what I'm going to do now is, since I've got the record player, I'm going to touch up the little areas with oil. It seemed like it was already kind of working. A lot of these record players I've gotten from Collie's already done the cleanup on the record player, but it's probably been a few years, so it wouldn't hurt to freshen it up. Okay, so what we're going to do is use zoom spout oil, and we're going to basically touch anything in this thing that moves, including the motor. I think this thing's been oiled. Like this, a lot of this stuff looks pretty wet. Again, it's probably been like anyway. Welcome to day 2 working on the Decca record player, and brought it into the museum, and it kept on looking at this schematic and I was like, everything's right. Why is this resistor getting so hot? We did a little math. We meaning the actual engineer who's at the other side of the bench here. And the original design was just not adequate. That's why some of the capacitors in there were probably melted. So in this experiment I put a 10 watt versus 5 watt resistor in there, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this Dale surface mounted 10 watt resistor and put it inside here, all the way over here where there's a lot of air, and by bolting it to the chassis will act as a heat sink. Okay, I installed this Dale resistor at the other side. It's been on for about 5 minutes, and I can do that, and it's just a little, it's warm. That's fine. All that metal around here is going to help dissipate all that heat. And it's all the way over here away from the capacitors, which is going to help them have much longer lives versus the old resistor, which ran over the top. Where did that old guy go? This guy was going over the top here. So that was putting out a crap ton of heat, which is not good. Okay, so test the record player. It should cycle and drop the record, which it does. Then the tone arm should come over. Oops! They must have thought that was a 45. Let me try that again. See if it'll reject.
Also, you think about this, the whip antenna is used on A and the long one.
Yep. Okay, let me see if I can lift this record up. That should re-trip the size. Let's see if it'll sense that that is a 33. Okay, good. What I forgot to do is I need to bring that guy up when you bring the record up, so it'll reset the size detection. All right, so I brought it here to try to fix, and I did fix it, so I'm going to take it home where all the rest of the trim parts and stuff are, so I can put it back together again. Okay, this is the next day working on the Decca the Perry. What is VI in Roman numerals? Is that 6? It is. Okay, it's a Decca the Perry 6 hi-fi. Put it all back together again, got the trim, the knobs and everything, and now seems to be working the way it should, which is you stack the records up, you press reject, And the record drops. Whoa, the needle's going all the way to the 45 setting. That's not supposed to do that. So probably what I did is you're supposed to engage that when you bring the records back up. So let's see. It's probably going to do 45 again. Yep, so it thinks it's at 45. So let me reset this. Okay, where you see that little finger is now underneath the 33s, that means that should trigger the arm to basically sense that it is not dealing with, see, there you go. Now it knows it's a 33. And let's give it a little volume. And now what we'll do is we'll go to the next record. That will drop. And then of course the tone arm knows that it's a 12-inch. Oops. There we go. So the last thing I'm going to do is clean the case a little bit. Unfortunately, we're missing the handle, and the top is a little bit problematic. This probably will not sell for a huge amount of money, but if someone wants a good, reliable, halfway decent sounding record player, this is it. It's not bad. Someone on budget just wants a record player? Great. Alright, you guys are probably wondering what I've done to this. It's tire foam. I've decided that tire foam sometimes does a great job on cleaning up and restoring a lot of this fake leather stuff from the 50s and 60s. So I'm going to let that sit in there and soak for a little while. My wife probably thinks I'm crazy, but I will succeed in getting this looking halfway decent. Alright, well, believe it or not, I got this to look actually not too bad. And the secret was the tire cleaner. I think what it did is it went in there. You know that foaming bathroom cleaner you use where it penetrates and cleans up all the crap? Well, I think it did that, and it also adds, like, it's got acetate in it, which makes your tires shiny. So it's got a little bit of a plastic emulsion in here. It's not perfect looking, but it's certainly a lot better looking than it did. And I think what I'm going to do, I might go to the thrift store or something like that to get a handle, and that way it'll be complete. It's not too bad, for sure.